Welcome back to the Go to Go podcast, man. Episode 83, 2024 NFL mock draft. We're doing this episode of the draft. I think it's 2.5 weeks away now. We're gonna go through. You're picking the odds. I'm picking the evens. We're gonna go through just the first round. Obviously, we're not gonna do all 7, but first round NFL 2024 mock draft. You're gonna get us started. Bears are on the clock. It's probably the easiest pick of the draft here.
Yeah, not too much to say here. We've kind of already hinted at this past couple episodes where we weren't even talking about the draft, but yeah, Caleb Williams to the Bears, number 1.
You got any comments on his lipstick?
Caleb Williams to the Bears, number 1.
Man, he was chilling with the nails in the phone, man. He had to throw a little lipstick on, but generational talent. That leaves the Commanders on the clock. There's been speculation. Drake May, Jaden Daniels, I think 2 days ago met with the team, and then Drake May met with them yesterday as well at his pro day. So Commanders got a couple options here. I'm going to go with the Heisman Trophy winner, Jaden Daniels, number 2 overall to the Commanders. Sam Howell out, Eric Bieniemy getting his guy, trying to build the future, pair him up with Scary Terry, see what happens over there in Washington.
It's Cliff Kingsbury now, bro.
Yeah, I'm tripping.
But, I mean, yeah, similar build. The way he liked to run that offense, what he did with Kyler and at SC with Caleb Williams, he liked that, dynamic athlete, somebody that can run around and create. So that makes sense. All right, I'm on the clock at number 3. Now, this is where it gets interesting because we're doing trades, right?
Yeah.
So this Patriots team, we've heard the rumors. We all know the history of the Pats organization. Always want to trade down. I think it's possible the Pats trade down out of this pick. Let me see. Who would trade up? Vikings, a possibility. Broncos, but they don't really have much to offer. Raiders, maybe. We could go a lot of different ways. But I think at pick 3, the Patriots, after having Tom Brady, greatest quarterback, greatest football player of all time, ever, that organization is just so used to having stability at the quarterback position, and I'm not sure if you're going to have another chance to be picking this high to have that stability at the position. So I'm going to bank on the positional value and the talent and upside of Drake May at number 3. I think the Patriots should take a quarterback, and I think if Drake May falls, kind of fits the mold. Playing up in New England, you want somebody like Drake May, more the prototypical size quarterback, bigger, he's like 6'4", 6'5". He's got some size on him. He's able to move around a little bit. The knocks on him is the mechanics and stuff in the pocket. But when you have the size and you have that ability with the new regime, Belichick's out, new people running that organization now. So I think the new regime, new coaching staff, those guys want to get their quarterback in there. We saw Mac Jones get traded to Jacksonville. So I think it's time to start fresh, pick a quarterback with some upside, and go with Drake May.
I was going to say, man, I did a lot of talking with you over the past. If you traded with the Vikings, that would have been crazy. Because at the number 4 pick, the Arizona Cardinals, they have their quarterback. Now, they could go get, wide receiver 1, Marv. But I think they go ahead, take a little draft capital. They swap these first rounders. And obviously, the Vikings do have stuff to offer. Justin Jefferson wants to play with the winning quarterback. Quarterback he likes, whatever. Been a lot of speculations. The kid out of Michigan, J.J. McCarthy. I think the Vikings go with him. They trade up. That's going to swap the Cardinals, the pick number 11, by the way, in this year's draft.
Okay.
Yeah, they're going to swap these first
Are they
rounders.
swiping? Because the Vikings have 2 firsts. So they're trading both of their firsts. They have 23, and then they also have 11. So you giving them both?
I swapped 11. Nah.
So you're not putting 23 in there?
Nah.
Okay.
They sent another first round next year.
A
or
future
whatever.
first?
Yeah, future first. Two future, maybe future first and a second next year. Who
I think
knows?
they would definitely have to send both this year. Like, that's why they traded up. But listen, that's what you
I mean,
wanna do.
if you want to go ahead, bro.
Actually, yeah, I was the Vikings, right? At 11, the odd number. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna need both of those first.
You're getting both of the first.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
cards
So-
at 23 again.
Yeah, so I'll take like
That's cool with me, man.
I'll take like a third or a fourth next year.
All right, bro. I'll give you a. Man, what about a fifth? Next
fine.
year.
I don't care about next year. I won't be making a pick next year.
Yeah, they go with JJ McCarthy, man. You know, a lot of question marks. Being at Michigan, not a passing offense, handing the ball off. The Vikings gotta get JJ. He's in a dome. He's played in cold weather games. He's played in big games as well. Being in the Big Ten, national championship. He's been in the college football playoffs plenty of times. And he's younger than a lot of these quarterbacks in the draft that, you know, the Drake Mays, the Jaden Daniels. I believe he's just 22 years old. So Vikings go out and get a young talent in J.J. McCarthy and try to build that core for the future.
All right. So I'm on the clock here with the Chargers. Now, it hurts that the Cardinals traded out of pick 4. I was hoping they would stick in pick because if I'm the Chargers, I would be looking to trade out and get as much, you know, draft capital and value that I possibly could. But with, you know, 4 QBs going off the clock or off the board consecutively, I also think that's the first, like, if that happens, it would be the first time it ever happens, I'm pretty sure. Like, the 4 first picks are all QBs. So, I basically get to sit here. Harbaugh's back. He's back in San Diego, or not San Diego, but, you know, in Southern California. So, Harbaugh is back with Chargers. We know how he likes to play his brand of football. They want to run the ball. They want to play his style. They have Justin Herbert. So I'm going to go with, I'm just going to take, this could go a lot of different ways. Like, I can literally pick, anyone, like, the best at every single position other than quarterback. I would like to trade down. But I think I'm going to go with Joe Alt here, the left tackle from Notre Dame. Now, we do have Rashawn Slater, but banking on both of these guys who are, you know, really athletic tackles, I think one of them will be able to slide over to right. Both of these guys are very skilled, and they should be skilled enough to play on either side of the ball. But when you think about Harbaugh, you mentioned, you know, touching on J.J. McCarthy, where most of the time he was just standing there, handing the ball off, heavy run game. They want to build in the trenches. When you look at his history, that's what he's done, that 49ers team. With what he did with Michigan and now with the Chargers, I think that's kind of what he wants to get back to. So picking the best offensive lineman here, Joe Alt, like a monster of a human being. He's like 6'8", 6'9", something like that. 340, 350. He's a huge human being. So that'll definitely help build the trenches, protect Justin Herbert, who, you know, has been banged up the past couple of seasons. So I think this fits what Harbaugh wants to do with the Chargers in terms of building the trenches, get that run game going, protect Herbert, and then when you have to, you know, let Justin Herbert step back, throw the ball, and create. So I think this definitely fits the identity and what they want to do over there with the Chargers in LA. So, yeah, that's my pick.
It's going to shake things up, man, because it was either Joe Alt. You know, they lost a lot of weapons in the offseason. I originally had the Giants taking Malik Neighbors. Now I think it's a no-brainer over there in New York. They go with Marvin Harrison Jr., the best wide receiver talent in this draft, and they go out and get a weapon. I know they still don't have their quarterback. I don't think they necessarily reach at the 6. Maybe they could drop back, but I think passing on a talent like Marvin Harrison Jr., I don't think they could afford to do it. I know they're having buyer's remorse on Danny Dimes, but you pair him up with a true wide receiver 1 and a talent like Marvin Harrison, something he's truly never had in New York. I think it's going to be, you know, something they can't pass up, and I think they go with Marv Harrison there at 6.
Yeah, and that feels like insane value for Marvin Harrison. Over the past couple seasons, everyone's been saying like he could possibly be the best player in the entire draft. So just shows you, man, that positional value. All those quarterbacks getting pushed up. These teams like Chargers, the Titans, the Falcons. These teams that are picking, basically after pick 4, pretty much get some good value on other positions besides quarterback. All right. On the clock here with the Titans. Now, this is also interesting because, you look here, you got Malik Neighbors still on the board. You did bring in Calvin Ridley, brought in Tony Pollard. Offensive line, I think, still needs some help. But sitting here looking at Malik Neighbors, man, I don't know. Like, some people have him as their wide receiver one. What he's able to do, he's super dynamic with the ball in his hands. I think he just ran a 4.3 either today or yesterday at his pro day. So, the speed is there, prototypical size, and he had an amazing season this past year with Jaden Daniels. So that's, you got Will Levis, young QB. Do you want to kind of just, build around him, bring more weapons, give him as much help as possible on the outside, or do you want to continue to build that O-line and try to protect Will Levis and keep him upright? This could go either way. You know what? It's modern NFL, everyone's throwing the ball. You need playmakers. You took Traylon Burks in the first round. He's been up and down. Calvin Ridley comes over, but you're going to need more than just Calvin Ridley. And outside of those guys, what else is there? DeAndre Hopkins, he's on the tail end of his career. So you bring in someone like Malik Neighbors for the Titans, explosive, dynamic, down the field. Will Levis, we saw last year, showed some flashes, able to throw the ball deep, stretch the field. I think if you add Malik Neighbors into that offense, he's not as physical and as big as A.J. Brown, but he can kind of, come in and provide that same down the field, stretchability to where defenses are going to have to expect that deep ball. So I think you can slot in Malik Neighbors there, and he is arguably wide receiver 1, if not number 2.
GMs around the league scratching their head.
Scratching their head? How?
The Titans, arguably the worst O-line last year. I see the point you're trying to get, Will Levis, whatnot, but he couldn't even stay upright for
This is a very, very deep offensive tackle class, all right? Early second round, they'll be able to find some players.
There's a lot of tackles there. I will give you that.
They'll be able to find players that, past couple drafts maybe would have went in the first round. So I'm not sure.
Give Malik Neighbors. I'm not mad at it. The Falcons, number 8 on the clock. Think the Falcons offensively got every guy they need on offense currently. Defense is where they're going in this draft, and I think they get the best edge in the draft in Dallas Turner out of Alabama, at a pass rusher. Defense was definitely not their strong suit. We know they got those weapons on the outside. They go out, sign Kirk this offseason as well. And now your offense is good to go. You got to set that front. Dallas Turner, great pass rusher, set the tone for the Falcons. I think they get him at 8. And, if it wasn't this deep of a draft class, he could be, a top 5 pick. But 4 quarterbacks in the first 4 picks, like you said, talent sliding down the board in other positions.
All right, Chicago, back on the clock here. And this is also, another pick that can go a lot of different ways. But when I see...
I was interested to see where you go here at 9.
You look at the offensive playmakers. You have Roma Dunze there, Brock Bowers, 2 guys that can definitely help that pass game. Just try to help Caleb as much as possible with the weapons. You look at offensive line. The Bears have a decent O-line. I think I'm gonna. You can get maybe if Dallas Turner wasn't your number 1 defensive player, maybe your best defensive player on the board. Although the Bears defense kind of showed some promise there at the end of the season last year. You know what? I think I'm gonna just go with Rome Odunze. You lose Darnell Mooney. You trade for Keenan Allen, but he's on a 1 year deal, end of his contract, also getting up there in age. And then you have DJ Moore, who's a solid receiver one at this point, but you bring in Rome Odunze. I think he could easily slot in at that third position, and then he can also learn from those guys like Keenan Allen, like a DJ Moore. So I think that fits really well. And then now you have Caleb Williams with a competent running back, 3 receivers who can catch the ball, and a serviceable tight end. I think this Chicago's Bears team will be, a fun team to watch. So I'm going to go Rome Odunze. You can play inside, outside, in the slot. You can move basically all 3 of those guys around. A lot of matchup nightmares for the defenses, especially in the NFC North where, not a lot of defense being played.
Yeah. I mean, you said it. That's a great pickup for the Bears. I kind of expected that coming out. Going for the receiver, pairing them with Caleb, 2 rookie players on offense, and then build off those 2 vet receivers as well. It's a good pickup. And that's going to leave the Jets at 10. Now, you thought, maybe keep A-Rod upright. They addressed some of the line issues, but still have some holes. I think the Jets, you got Garrett Wilson on the outside. Can you add another receiver? You got Aaron Rodgers basically, for how many years left of his career coming off that Achilles injury, truly doesn't know what he has just yet for the New York Jets. But I think they go out and get a weapon, build off it. I think they go with the best tight end prospect we've seen since Kyle Pitts, Brock Bowers out of Georgia. And I think the Jets snag him at 10, build on that offense, and just continue to build a, high-powered, high-passing offense. And there's also reports Corey Davis may be coming back to the Jets. Who knows what he has left in the tank. But I think they still get Brock Bowers regardless. He slid to 10. They get a generational talent at tight end.
Yeah, and I mean, you bring in Mike Williams on a 1 year deal. That's kind of like a rental, another guy that's super injury prone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they did, at least try to address the offensive line in free agency. You bring over the left tackle from the Cowboys, Tyron Smith. So a couple of, try to plug and play, so maybe they can hold up for just a couple years. And then, like I mentioned, this is a super deep offensive line class. So second, third round, maybe you take flyers on guys then and kind of bank on their upside. But yeah, if you add Brock Bowers into that offense, someone that can, dominate the middle of the field, be kind of like that safety blanket for Rodgers, I like that pick. All right. Cardinals here at 11. Cardinals can go a lot of different ways here. Offensive line is okay. It took Paris Johnson last year, and he looked pretty solid. You could probably trust O-line again. You can never have too many offensive linemen. I'm in my, Howie Roseman era, getting influenced by favorite team's GM.
I mean, you're not lying, man.
You look at corner, I mean, Marco Wilson, is he the answer out there for the Cardinals?
I think they have a lot of issues to address on that defensive side of the ball.
That's a possibility. But Byron Murphy, someone bring some juice to that interior of the defensive line. But I think I'm going to, looking at edge, Jared Verse, solid power rusher. They got Latu if he passes the injuries, he's got questionable injury history, but if he clears medicals, he's arguably the best pass rusher in the draft. Just, got a lot of question marks there with injury. But you know what? I'm going to go with, kind of what's harder to find at this point, And I think that interior pass rush, that juice from the inside, I'm going to go with Byron Murphy, defensive tackle from Texas. Someone, like you mentioned, that Cardinals team has a lot of stuff to address on the defensive side of the ball. So I think at this point you kind of just go best player available on the defensive side of the ball, maybe even offense, but with basically every single pick being offense right now. The value is definitely on the defensive side of the ball right now, and I think Byron Murphy can definitely come in and help that defense on the line in terms of stopping the run, trying to, generate that pass rush from the interior. We always talk about how important that is, and Byron Murphy is someone who's super athletic, explosive off the ball, and can bring that to a defense that desperately needs any kind of help. So I'm going to go Byron Murphy here at 11.
I love that pick for the Cardinals. Byron Murphy, one of the best talents in this draft, in my opinion. Coming from a position that doesn't get a lot of love in the defensive tackle. But that's going to put the Broncos on the board at 12. And, a lot of question marks over there in Denver. Sean Payton, does he go out and get his quarterback? Do the Broncos necessarily reach a little bit here at 12? They could slide back maybe a little bit in the draft. Sure, but I think the Broncos stick out at 12. And they go get the West Coast guy out of Oregon. And I think they go out and draft Bo Nix, Sean Payton, maybe his guy over there in Denver. You take Nix off the board. Is it a little bit of a reach? We'll see. Bo Nix up there in age as well. He's been playing in college a very long time.
Yeah, I think he has the most starts ever as a college quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of experience under his belt. Maybe Sean Payton and him get on the same page, but the Broncos desperately need a quarterback, and I think they address that at 12.
And, this is what makes it, like, so interesting and stuff, because when you look at, the Broncos at 12, like, every single team has so many different needs and scheme fits and stuff. Like, Bo Nix, if you slot him into that Denver Broncos offense, he kind of brings, exactly what Sean Payton is looking for. He wants a quarterback that can play within the system, that can be on time, that'll know exactly where to go with the football, which is, kind of why Russ didn't work out with Sean Payton, because Russ is the opposite. He likes to improvise, maybe hold on to the ball, kind of look for the big play down the field. Whereas you look at Bo Nix, I mean, what they did in Oregon, it was either, they're throwing the ball 40 yards down the field or it's a screen pass. So Bo Nix was really, really, good at playing inside the system, playing exactly how Sean Payton wants, can create a little bit, is, maybe a better athlete than some give him credit for. But in terms of, being smart, decisive, knowing exactly where to go with the ball, I mean, all that experience, seeing all that stuff at the college football level will definitely help him coming in, and he's going to be exactly what Sean Payton wants, just getting the ball exactly where it needs to go. So although it could be a reach a little bit talent-wise, I like the fit, and I think that's a perfect fit for Bo Nix, and he could, maybe have some success early on if he goes into that scheme and if he's able to play exactly how Sean Payton wants. So I don't hate that pick at all. All right, Raiders here at 13. We mentioned, do we see like the second run on quarterbacks? Raiders are a team that needs a QB. Yep. Reports coming out there looking like, they want to be one of the teams to trade up to get one of those top guys. But unfortunately, the Vikings had the best package to offer. They move up. So I don't know if the value for quarterback is here just yet for the Raiders. You bring in Gardner Minshew, maybe that's a bridge quarterback, something like that. So it's not like you're
as desperate as the Broncos are.
Have like absolutely nothing there at quarterback position. Gardner Minshew is a serviceable backup who, can come in and start for a year maybe and kind of just keep things afloat, especially with how the Raiders want to play now with Antonio Pierce. Big on defense, want to run the ball. So I think I'm going to take offensive line here and go Talise Fuaga. We mentioned can never have too many O-linemen. Fuaga, just a big mauler, especially in that run game, trying to run the ball, control the ball. When you have someone like Gardner Minshew, you're not going to be throwing, 35, 40 times a game, hopefully. So bringing Fuaga, nasty, big mauler in the run game, be able to, set that line of scrimmage. And, maybe if you take a quarterback in next year's draft or, down the line, you'll have a solid right tackle, or maybe you want to move him to left, but a solid right tackle who, should be there for the foreseeable future and be able to protect your future quarterback, your future starter, whoever that may be. So I'm going to go with Fuaga here.
Yeah, well, the Saints up at 14. Tackles are flying off the board. I'm going to go with Troy Fatanu, tackle out of Washington. I think the Saints, they signed Derek Carr to be their guy. They kind of want to protect him. He got beat up. Saints defense is all right. Playing in that NFC South, I think they go out and get their tackle that they need desperately on the outside. And I think you see 2 tackles go off the board here. I know it's a deep tackle class, but there's some elite talents in here that we haven't seen in a long time coming in the first round for, offensive alignment in general, especially tackles, is really deep this year. But I think the Saints go tackle here and beef up their O-line.
Yeah, and Fatano, someone who has unlimited position versatility.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying he can move into guard.
Yep.
Had a lot longer arms than people expected at the combine, so maybe he's able to stick out and tackle. But when you look at the Saints, they just need help kind of everywhere on the offensive line. So Fatano could come in and kind of just play wherever he is most needed. All right, Colts here on the clock. This is also going to be a fun pick because they need help at not everywhere, but when you think about what they have at quarterback, Anthony Richardson. We've both said this already. It seems like almost every single pick, whereas, you want to surround that young QB with talent, get him playmakers on the outside. So you look at receiver Brian Thomas Jr., kind of the pinnacle of the height, weight, speed guy from this year's draft. Ran, I think, in the 4.3s at the combine, 6'4", something like that. Super, super wicked talented, deep threat receivers, speed all over the place. Donnie Mitchell also ran pretty fast, also a bigger receiver from Texas. But then you go to the other side of the ball where I think they also need help at is cornerback. Quinyon Mitchell, probably, arguably the number one corner, still on the board. Terrion Arnold. I think they go Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo, man. The Colts, they like those height, weight, speed. They like those athletes. And you look at Quinyon Mitchell, ever since the Senior Bowl, man, dominated the Senior Bowl. Went to the combine, balled out, pro day, balled out. This is a guy who's super, super fast, able, got the long arms, able to stick on the outside, has the potential and the upside to be, a true number one boundary cornerback. In today's NFL, we always talking about everyone want to throw, got to have weapons all over the place. Well, if you're the other team, you got to have people to guard them. So I think Quinyon Mitchell can do that. He showed the ability to be able to stick with those number one guys, and I think at the NFL level, we'll have the upside to be a true number one lockdown corner. So I got the Colts taking him at 15.
It's gonna put the Seahawks on the board at 16, and I think they go D line here, but I didn't expect Newton to slide this far into the draft. I got him, originally taking edge Jared versus Florida State, you mentioned earlier, but I could see them going interior with Newton here. They need help anywhere on that D line, but I think, the presence of the edge is super important here. Both of them good value picks at these spots. I think I might actually flip the script here and go with Newton. Jerzon Newton, out of Illinois, tackle. A lot of question marks on his size, but his skill set and his ability to shed blockers is definitely there. So I got the Seahawks going interior there.
All right. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. All right, the Jags on the clock. Let's see. They could use some O-line help, keep Trevor Lawrence upright. Jared Verse is kind of interesting here, but I think they're pretty solid at edge already.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the DBs, still some really good corners on the board. That could definitely help out that Jags secondary. Bringing Brian Thomas Jr., who might just be, better version of Gabe Davis at this point. So I don't really think they need to go receiver. Still got some guys there. You know what? I'm gonna I'm gonna go Terrion Arnold from Alabama, the corner. Another guy who might not be the athlete Quinyon Mitchell is, but you know playing at Alabama with Nick Saban, we know Alabama just produces DBs, and I think Arnold also showed the ability to have that upside to stick on the outside, be able to play with those top receivers on the boundaries, can move all around. Great ball skills. I think had 6 or 7 interceptions last year, something crazy like that. But yeah, the Jags, they definitely need defense help, DB help, and I think Terrion Arnold can come in and maybe compete for the number one corner spot. But if not, have Tyson Campbell on that other side. You can slide in Terrion Arnold as your CB2. So I think he fits there.
It's gonna put the Bengals. I like that pick as well. Bengals on the board at 18. They could use a little D-line help, but they really do want to protect Joe Burrow coming off that hand injury, coming off the knee injury. What did he have? An ankle injury in camp last year too as well. They want to protect Joe Burrow. He's their franchise guy. I know it's a deep tackles class, but I think they go out, get the big fella out of Penn State, Fashanu. I don't know how to say his. Oh,
yeah.
However you say his. Yeah. A big tackle out of Penn State, set the edge for Joe Burrow, protect him, keep him upright. They were able to retain T. Higgins in the offseason. You still got Jamar Chase. You still got weapons on the outside for Joe Burrow. It's about time. The question mark since he came into the league was that offensive line in Cincinnati. I think he set the tone here. Tell him we got you coming off injury. I know it's a hand injury, but still want to keep him upright. Still want to keep him protected. Bengals go out and get a tackle at 18.
All right. The Rams on the clock here, and I think this is a pretty easy pick. I'm looking at it right now in terms of, what they need and what they can use for their team. Offensively, they're pretty set. Spent a lot of money this free agency on the offensive line, trying to keep Matthew Stafford upright. Maybe you could look for a tackle or something, but I'm looking at the defensive side of the ball, man, and Jared Verse is still here. I think this is going to be a really seamless fit. You lose Aaron Donald. You got a bunch of young guys who, showed some promise last year. A lot of those draft picks, those guys stepped up and proved that, they were more than worthy of where they got picked, but, kind of playing above draft value. So you bring in someone like Jared Verse and you add him to that edge rotation. I think this will really, really help that defense. Bring some power and speed on the edge. You get, hopefully your true number one edge rusher to go along with those guys that you hit last year in the draft, interior, and those outside rushers. So I think Jared Verse will fit nicely in with this LA Rams team.
Yeah, it's a great pick. I mean, I think that's a steal in this draft that Verse slid to 19 in itself. That's going to put the Steelers on the clock at 20. Now, they could go two ways here. I originally had him taking a tackle, but a lot of corner prospects have kind of slid in this draft. They do need a little help on the outside. As far as the number 2 corner goes, a lot of question marks there. Question is, do they go tackle? Do they go DB? It's a tough one. I think with the additions of the 2 quarterbacks and other scramblers, both improvisers, the defense is already elite with, Watt and Highsmith rushing the passer, Minka Fitzpatrick on the back end and everything like that. So I think they're going to address the offensive line and go J.C. Latham, tackle out of Alabama here. And they sort of protect, whether the guys Russ, whether the guys Fields, kind of set the tone with that O-line, see if they bring in a new guy, if both those guys, don't end up working. Russ on the prove-it deal, Fields still on that rookie contract. So we'll see what the Steelers do. I think they go tackle.
Yep. I mean, if you got Russell Wilson and Justin Fields back there and, you want to see what you have in either one of those quarterbacks, the best way is to keep them upright and protect them. So that, yeah, Steelers building through the trenches makes a lot of sense. All right. Your Miami Dolphins on the clock. This is why, I wanted to do the draft this way, so we both pick for each other. Kind of spice it up. Now,
I think this could be a no-brainer, but there is some talent on the board you could go
there
with. So
there is. I'm just gonna give a quick shout out, man, to Joel Klatt, man. His most recent mock draft, basically all of his mock drafts. He only did 2, but in both of them, he had Michael Penix going to Miami. I just wanted to know your thoughts on that. Well, first off, how do you feel about Tua? Losing all that talent in free agency, not able to pay people because that Tua contract is looming. And then secondly, if you replace him with Michael Penix Jr. with those weapons, how would you feel about that?
Honestly, I feel pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. At this point, I mean, I said it the other day as a joke, but I kind of believe lefty quarterbacks in the league. It's just something you don't see, and you already have one in Tua. I mean, the thing is, you can't pay any of these guys. You got Tyreek, who said he's not worried. We're gonna go out and get some guys, but he's not worried because he's the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, who also doesn't produce in big games. I just want to say that as well. Like, it's not just Tua not showing up. It's Tyreek dropping passes in the end zone against the Ravens, miscues all across the board. Same thing with Wilkins, who they let walk. Jerome Baker did have a downside of a year. You lose Wilkins, that's probably the biggest hit. But I'm not rocking with Penix. I don't know who you said was doing these mock drafts, but maybe get a new analyst in the studio or whatnot. But I mean, they still haven't paid Tua, so that could be a reason, a sign. Maybe they go and take a quarterback in the draft, but
yeah, and you think about what does Michael Penix do best? I mean, throw the ball downfield. You have Tyreek Hill. You have Jalen Waddle.
Not there, but
that's what you want. All right, just wanted to get a quick update on
I don't know how
the Miami Dolphins QB position.
I'd probably just say
I probably won't be taking Michael Penix, so I'm just saying that right now. Although it is interesting, and I'm very intrigued by that. But looking at the Dolphins roster, to me, the name that stands out the most is Leatu Latu. If he passes the medicals, I mean, you saw what happened last year down the stretch, just losing guy after guy in terms of defense and, edge rush. Now you got Jalen Phillips coming off of a torn Achilles, and then you have Bradley Chubb going down to the ACL. Do you want to bring somebody in with injury history and kind of, just add to that with all the injuries? But if he passes the medicals, this is someone who can, bring a lot of juice, a very polished pass rusher to come in and kind of aid those two guys as they work their way back. That's interesting. I just think the Dolphins stay away due to injury history and kind of what happened last season. So after that, I'm looking at O-line, man. If Tua's going to be the guy of the future, you got to protect him. We all know with the concussions, he was a lot better last year in staying upright, but, you still don't want to forget what happened a couple seasons ago. You want to make sure you still prioritize keeping Tua upright in the pocket so O-line is somewhere. And then looking at corners, man, there's still a couple solid corners there, a couple DBs that could definitely slide in and help, especially, letting go of X. You have Jalen Ramsey. You got you signed, who's it, Jordan Poyer. Yeah, and then you also got Javon Holland back
Kendall
there as well.
Fuller.
Kendall Fuller. Yeah, so, that's a serviceable room, but maybe you want to bring in a young guy to kind of learn, develop, rotate in. But I think with Tua and with that offense, I want to go offensive line here. So, Jackson Powers-Johnson, center. I know the Dolphins desperately need a center. That someone can come in, not the most agile center, but someone who's going to be sturdy, be able to keep that pocket, the middle of the pocket upright for Tua, so he's able to kind of, slice and dice over the middle like he likes to do, hit those RPOs and those posts right over the middle. I think Jackson Powers-Johnson will definitely help, but I'm going to go with Graham Barton from Duke, and the only reason I'm going with him is because, once again, we mentioned how important that position versatility is, and Graham Barton is someone who, like Fuaga, has played all over that offensive line. So Maybe he can slide into center. I believe he's played center before, but guard versatility, definitely can, move into the guards and play tackle at Duke. So maybe he's able to stick on the outside. You mentioned with the Dolphins, it seemed like they always had guys down on that offensive line. So bringing in Graham Barton, someone who can slide on any position and help out anywhere, I think will definitely be big for the Miami Dolphins.
I don't hate it if he could slide into guard. I mean, losing Rob Hunt, obviously no Connor Williams off the ACL, free agent as well, but I don't hate it. I definitely saw him going online here and need to address that. Jackson Powers is definitely a name that could pop up as well. With the need at center, a lot of snap problems last year and years past since, Pouncey's kind of left. I mean, it's been a long time, but I don't hate it. I kind of like it. It's going to put the Eagles 22 on the clock. I just want to say I had your boy Arnold going to the Eagles originally, but you went ahead and took him off the board. It still leaves a lot of corner talent on the board. And I'm kind of surprised, man. You've taken a lot of corners here in this draft. One name you haven't mentioned is Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. Some got him as the best corner. We took Mitchell already from Toledo, right? Mm-hmm. Nate Wiggins is still on the board, I believe.
Yeah.
Arnold off the board. And, I mean, you still got Kool-Aid on the board. Depends where some guys have them higher than others. But I think, you got big play Slay on the outside. Last year, it was how you beat the Eagles. You throw the ball, you protect your quarterback, and you throw the football down the field. James Bradbury, let's just play cutthroat. He's washed. He's an older guy. You saw what happened last year late in the season. He got fatigued. He was non-existent. They had to take him off the football field. So I think the Eagles get a steal in the draft here at 22, and Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. Some have him ranked, the highest cornerback prospect in this draft, whether, you go with a guy like Mitchell or whatever. A lot of talent on the board, wherever you rank them. I don't think you could go wrong with this pick. They need desperately corner help. They re-sign Chauncey Gardner playing nickel, question mark safety hybrid. So kind of got that a little. They need help in the secondary. So I think they go with Cooper DeJean out of Iowa.
Yeah, personally, I like that pick. You mentioned, last year they just had no pass defense whatsoever. So I think DeJean can definitely come in and give position versatility. That's like, what we keep saying all mock draft, but it's really true. DeJean who can play, maybe can stick outside on the boundary. If not, you can slide him in, move him around. Some safety versatility there as well. I know we got Reed Blankenship, Sidney Brown, guys that show some flashes, but you bring in an athlete like Cooper DeJean, I think he could definitely, step in over one of those guys and take some starting time, and then move him into slot if you want to keep Chauncey back at safety. And then they also have Isaiah Rodgers on the roster who, hopefully wants to come back and get instated this year and should definitely add some competition to that cornerback room. So I don't hate this at all. You got some of those guys like you mentioned. This is kind of like a pick for the future. You got Darius Slay, James Bradbury, who may be a pick for now. Some of those guys that are aging, stick them out there on the outside. Hopefully you get, a starter somewhere in the secondary for years to come. So I don't hate that at all. But what I will say is if Amarius Mims is there on the board, there's no way they don't take him. Offensive tackle from Georgia, they're just going to take him, like a 100%. The Georgia pipeline, I mean, when you look at, you just had Jason Kelce retire. Now Lane Johnson, he's kind of looming. When is he going to, hang up the cleats? That's coming soon. I think they would bring in someone like Amarius Mims, who is also, just a giant human being. Have him kind of, get mentored under Lane Johnson and be, hopefully the eventual successor. And plug in that right tackle for Lane Johnson. So I think if Amarius Mims was there, I think they just ran that card up to the board. But I really do like Cooper DeJean, and you kind of, look at what happened last season. I think that fits 100%. So I'm not mad at the Cooper DeJean pick, although I do think they would go offensive line there. All right, Vikings traded this pick to the Cardinals, so the Cardinals are back on the clock. And I'm gonna go Brian Thomas Jr. here. When you look at kind of what the Cardinals kind of consensus pick is up there, it's gonna be Marvin Harrison Jr. Well, they trade back and they're able to get arguably the best interior defender in the draft, and then get Brian Thomas Jr., who's arguably the most explosive receiver in the draft. Maybe not as good as Marvin Harrison Jr., but I think he's definitely more explosive, adds a lot more juice, a lot more speed down the field. I mean, I think that's a pretty good compensation. And you still have one more pick later on in the draft coming up here if you're Arizona. So, yeah, I think they add Brian Thomas Jr. to this receiving core who, like we mentioned, this team has some needs all over the place. So, you add in Brian Thomas Jr., athlete, someone that can bring a lot of juice, a lot of flair to that offense, give Kyler Murray a target down the field.
Yeah, it's going to put the Cowboys on the board, which I had them originally taking Newton out of Illinois. But being that, I believe the Seahawks were able to get him, Jared Verse sliding down in the draft as well. The Cowboys signed Eric Kendricks in the offseason.
That's about it.
Yeah. And that's about it. That's why I'm kind of skeptical. Peyton Wilson at NC State, dominant linebacker. Kendricks, I believe it's a 1-year deal. He's getting older in age. They had a guy in Van Der Esch who was really the heart and soul of that defense. When he was on the field, his presence was felt. And he was the guy, kind of this focal point of that Cowboys defense. Now, do you go Brian Thomas off the board? Do you try to pair another receiver? You got CeeDee Lamb, but after that, a lot of question marks on the board as well. I don't know. Do they go DB? They got Gilmore. Bland showed some flashes.
I think Gilmore's a free agent. I think he was on a one-year deal.
Gilmore's out, yeah. They still got Diggs.
Yeah, he's coming back from injury.
Deron Bland's out there, but you saw him get exposed in certain games last year. Do you want to pair another corner out there? Do you want to go maybe interior lineman? You lost Tyron Smith in free agency. Do you go tackle? There's a lot of options here for the Cowboys. I mean, I think that you kind of – let's take a look here, man, because you could go wherever. Saw a couple people, you could go wide receiver here. Do the Cowboys truly need it?
I think they don't. Like, they have CeeDee Lamb and who else, bro?
Brandon Cooks.
Cooks is still on the roster?
That's it, yeah. It's like Cooks and...
Yeah, because I know they released Gallup. So, Cooks is what, like 29, 30?
Played on
28?
50 different teams.
Yeah.
So, I think, honestly... Forget the defensive side of the ball. You got Micah Parsons. You got Diggs. Think they're going to let it ride. Think they go out and get a weapon. Saw this a couple years ago. A guy's name that's not really, truly on the big board in the first round, but the stopwatch controls draft stock. So, kind of like John Ross, the Cowboys, I think they take a chance. Xavier Worthy, the fastest 40 time. I mean... The Cowboys got a lot of needs, especially since they didn't address any in free agency. But they got the guy out of Texas, Xavier Worthy. He could play in the slot. He's a smaller guy. His route skills are actually pretty decent if you turn on the tape. So I think they take the chance on the speed, pair him up with CeeDee Lamb, get two weapons out there for Dak Prescott, and hopefully, the Cowboys can make something work.
Yeah, I mean... If you want to take a flyer on that speed and athleticism, I mean, I don't hate it. Like you mentioned, they don't really have anyone else on the roster in terms of receivers that can provide long-term value besides CeeDee Lamb. So, Packers, on the clock. We know about the Packers. We know all the weapons they have on offense. Bring in Josh Jacobs. Defense was okay. I'm looking at the defensive side of the ball here. Corner, maybe bring in Nate Wiggins, a really good athlete on the outside. Little concerned about his size, but if he's able to, stick up on the edge out there, that'd be really nice. Leatu Latu also, if he passes their medicals, I think he'll definitely fit that Green Bay scheme. How they like to do, rotate all those pass rushers. They just took Lucas Van Ness last season. What to do? You know what? I'm gonna take Amarius Mims here, tackle out of Georgia. You just lost what's his name? The long time from Colorado, the left tackle, Bakhtiari. Yeah, you just lost him. I think they also lost another either guard or tackle in free agency as well. So bringing Amarius Mims, more of a raw prospect. I believe he only had 6 starts in college at Georgia, but I mean everything else you love, everything the measurables and stuff like that. It's all there. The athleticism, it's there. Another just giant human being that'll be able to help protect Jordan Love, keep him upright so he can create, play making, get the ball to those weapons down the field. Also, a very big guy, so should be able to move a bunch of bodies in the run game, create lanes for Josh Jacobs. So I think Packers kind of go, just best player available on their board. And if the draft falls like this, I definitely think, bringing in some O-line, bringing in some tackle help can never hurt. So I'll go Amarius Mims, tackle from Georgia.
It's going to put the Bucks on the board at 26, and I think, they got the outside kind of settled in. I don't think they, go receiver in this draft. They re-signed Mike Evans. You got Baker Mayfield. They need help on that defensive side of the ball. I think they take the chance. I think the Bucks are the team to take the chance on Latu at a UCLA here. I think it's a great value pick. Obviously, health, big question mark coming into the draft, but I think the Bucks take a chance. They get an edge, kind of set the tone defensively. But I mean, they got help on the back end with Winfield. They could use a cornerback, but I think they go edge here at 26.
Yeah, I think Latu, like you mentioned, man, if he passes the medicals, this is going to be a great pick. Someone with a lot of, not the most upside ever, but in terms of being a polished, super productive pass rusher coming out of college, I think Latu has a lot of value, especially if you can get him at 26 and if he's fully healthy. Okay, Cardinals on the clock here. Now, this is a position where, they traded down from 4. They already made 2 picks. Is there a team that wants to trade back up and kind of get their QB, get that 5th-year option on it? I think the Cardinals are still in position to trade out. They already made 2 picks. Why not get more draft capital for the future? So maybe this is a spot where maybe I think you can see someone come in. The Cardinals just continue to just try to get as much draft value, draft capital as they can over the next couple of years, because they pretty much have their quarterback in Kyler Murray, but need basically everything else. So we had them taking interior pass rush and receiver. Offensive line, maybe. You know what? I'm going to have them go. Let's keep Kyler Murray. Went down with injury last season. There's some interesting receivers here still on the board. Maybe we see him double dip. But I'm going to say they try their best to keep Kyler Murray upright, bring in some interior help on the offensive line. Jackson Power-Johnson, arguably the best center or best interior offensive lineman, still on the board. I just think they go best available, and they take JPJ, who should definitely help keep Kyler Murray upright in the pocket.
Yeah. 3 first-round picks. Cardinals got a lot to do. They're going to be busy on draft day for sure. It's going to put the Bills up at 28. And departure of Gabe Davis. Kind of wanted that boy Brian Thomas Jr. to slide here to kind of replace him at 28. I think the Bills pass heavy offense. They do go receiver here and get Adonai Mitchell out of Texas here at 28. I mean, he's got tremendous size, big red zone target. You got Diggs, who's a good route runner. You got Curtis Samuel in the offseason, who could be, all across the field over the middle. You get the big physical receiver on the outside and Adonai Mitchell. I think it's a good pickup. Josh Allen, pass-heavy offense, airing it out. I think it's going to be a good fit in Buffalo.
Yeah, and then also someone who, once again, speed, brings a lot of speed to that team, able to stretch the field. Basically, has the profile to be a better Gabe Davis. So
nobody's better than Gabe Davis, but enough of the GD slander, Gabe Davis slander.
Yeah. What, $30 million contract? Yeah.
Big play Gabe, man.
Way to go, Gabe Davis. All right. Lions on the clock here. They can go a lot of different ways. But I think they look to add some help to the defensive side of the ball. Now, Peyton Wilson is a name you brought up. I didn't think you were going to bring up, but in terms of skill and size and everything that you want from a linebacker, Peyton Wilson brings it. The only thing is he's another one of those players who just has a bad medical history. Medicals are going to be the biggest thing for him. So if he clears a team's medical, you could probably see him go, I would say, late first round. That's a guy who I think definitely has the talent to sneak into the first round. Just comes down to medicals. So you look at the Lions, they took a linebacker in the first round last year with Campbell from Iowa. So we know this team isn't afraid to take guys, with maybe not the most positional value, but just football players. We know Dan Campbell, how that team likes to be ran. So I think Peyton Wilson is an option there. Maybe they double dip. But, you know what? I'm going to have him give me Chop Robinson, edge. Ooh. From Penn State. You have, when you look at that defense, that was kind of, their only downfall last season. You have Aiden Hutchinson, number 2 pick, a couple years back out of Michigan. Outside of him, not really much else on that defensive line in terms of pass rush. You look at someone like Chop Robinson, maybe not the biggest, maybe not the strongest, but in terms of pass rush and an elite get off and ability to just get after the passer, I think Chop Robinson adds a lot of juice to that team. So you pair him on the opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson. Maybe, you bank on the upside of Chop Robinson. Maybe not a 3-down player as of yet. Maybe, bring him in as a pass rush specialist, maybe on those long where you kind of know the team's going to pass, and bring him in just someone that just has an unlimited motor, gets after the quarterback. Solid in the run game, can help there a little as well, but you want to see him get bigger, maybe a little bit stronger. But in terms of just getting to the league, you throw him out on the edge, he can just pin his ears back and go. So when you look at the Lions picking, they're a pretty good team picking this late in the draft. You kind of have to find those guys where, they may not be able to help immediately, but you look at the upside, you look at someone, you believe in your defense, you believe in what you guys have going on there. And if you think you can develop Chop Robinson, if you can kind of bring everything else along with his elite athleticism, elite get off, and, crazy speed, if you can bring everything along with that, have him playing with Aiden Hutchinson, I think you could have a possible starter out there on the edge. So I think they bank on the upside here and go Chop Robinson.
Yeah, not the most polished, ready now player, but you mentioned that upside. He's the boomer bust pick so far in this draft for sure. And I kind of like it. Pair him up with Hutch, Dan Campbell, defensive minded go getter coach. I don't hate it at all, and that's gonna put the Ravens on the clock at 30. Bring in Derrick Henry this offseason. Once again, I'm still going to question their 6 rush attempts in the AFC Championship to the reason why they lost and not bringing in Derrick Henry is going to make a difference, but I guess you won't hand the ball off 6 times just to Gus Edwards and call it a day. But that is what got you there. I think the Ravens go out and get a tackle here. Two-time MVP Lamar Jackson. You mentioned how much he has excelled being a true pocket passer in the game. And when the play breaks down, obviously, we know what he could do with his legs. It's not a question. I think to go Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma here, beef up that O-line, protect LJ, two-time MVP. I did see a tweet, I think the other day, someone called him Unk, and he was like, he been in the league for 7 years. He was like, y'all chill. I'm 27 years old, man. Like, still young. Mobile quarterbacks, we know they got a shorter lifespan, but keep him upright. I think they get a tackle in the draft and help him out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, league MVP, you just want to protect the asset, keep him upright. You got some weapons. Maybe Zay Flowers takes a step forward. You continue, Mark Andrews, he's back healthy. So I like what you got there on the offensive side of the ball.
And I think there's still some value in the later round when it comes to receivers in this draft.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, we talked about tackles being deep. There's still, you look at the receivers right now. There's, Lat McConkey, Troy Flinken, Roman Wilson, Ricky Pearsall. If you like Keon Coleman, there's a bunch of guys I know Javon Baker, your guy from UCF. Yeah. There's a bunch of talent down the board at receiver. So, yeah, you can definitely come back in second round, third round, and find some guys with some value. So, yeah, I don't hate that at all. All right, on the clock, San Francisco 49ers. And looking at the board right now, I think this is a pretty easy pick, and I'm going to take Nate Wiggins. When you kind of look at what they did last year, big on the defense, pass rush. You got all those guys up front. Linebackers are pretty much set. If you get Greenlaw, if he's back healthy. But, that back end, outside of Shavarius Ward, you saw what happened in the Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes down the stretch. Just couldn't get a stop. You bring in Nate Wiggins, athletic, ran super fast at the combine, has solid ball skills, someone who could just come in and add depth and compete for, that cornerback 2 position. You just want to get some more talent over there. So I think Nate Wiggins slides in is a big help there.
Yeah, I think that's a steal of the draft right there, and Wiggins sliding all the way, to 31. That's going to put the Chiefs Super Bowl champs on the board. And, here, they kind of brought in some help as far as receiver with Hollywood Brown. You got a speed guy in Hollywood Brown, but you lose, your number one corner. You don't lose. They ended up trading your number one corner this offseason, L'Jarius Sneed. You still got, what's his name, the even younger corner.
McDuffie?
Yeah, Trent McDuffie on the outside. And I think they kind of want to do what they did last year. Pair up McDuffie, who he exploded onto the scene. He was locked down. You watched the Super Bowl. He probably played better than L'Jarius Sneed did that whole game.
Yeah.
So I think the Chiefs, they go out and they get Kool-Aid out here at 32, kind of beef it up. L'Jarius Sneed walk out of Alabama. Not the most gifted athletically, but definitely one of the technique-wise and
has the size too.
Yeah, has the size. He can lock down and playing big games in the SEC. I don't see why not. Come on, you really thought I was gonna go the whole first round without saying Kool-Aid McKinstry? Like, let's lock it up. The Chiefs get a solid DB here at 32. So.
Yeah, and I think that really fits, what they want to do, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You got Patrick Mahomes. Everyone knows what he's capable of and, what he's done. And they just want to continue to bring in a bunch of young talent that can, is cheap, so they don't got to pay these guys. So bringing in someone like Kool-Aid McKinstry, I think, he'll definitely be able to slide in and compete super early for some playing time on that defensive side of the ball. So, yeah, you lose Sneed. I think McKinstry's a seamless fit here at the end of the first round. So, yeah.
It's going to wrap up the 2024 first round NFL mock draft. But yeah, I think, what is it? April what, the draft date?
I think 20-something.
Yeah, so we got maybe three weeks now. Regardless, today's March 28th. Happy opening day. Across the MLB, man. Missing some of the early games, but I'll be tapped in. I know Marlins play in like an hour, and then Guards don't play till 10. They play the A's, man. So we'll see what them two teams got. I know your boy Otani over there, big gambling guy. He been hanging out with Pete Rose and all that, but
then they play the Cardinals.
Yeah, the Cardinals. Yeah, April 25th for the draft. Cardinals, man, they're in shambles. In terms of the NL Central, man, but we'll see, man. You know it's a long season, 162 games. Guardians rotation need to stay healthy. I don't have much hope for the Marlins, to be honest. That offense scares me. A lot of young pitching talent there as well. Could be good for the Fish. And then we got, basketball heating up, man. I know.
There's some Rockets, man.
Yeah, I was about to say the Rockets they're on a little bender, man. They told the Warriors
10 straight.
Who posted a clip said like
Tari Eason.
Yeah, I don't know.
Warriors, they're coming, man. They're coming.
They are, man. And Draymond Green suplexing Patty Mills, and it's called a common foul. I didn't understand that one.
And then gets ejected the next game with like 2 minutes, like with 2 minutes off the clock.
Game.
No, like into the game. Yeah.
Draymond. Man. Yeah, man. So it's heating up, man. You got the big three about to. Well, they're not all intertwined yet, but NFL draft is an exciting part. Most exciting part of the offseason you could get here. I mean, free agency was busy. You got the draft. We'll see, but you got any last comments, takes, anything?
No, man. Basketball heating up, like you mentioned.
That West is tough.
5 through 10, man. I mean, there's only a couple of games separating all of them. So, Lakers on a little 5-game win streak. Rockets on 5-game win streak. Warriors just won 2 straight. Suns just beat the Nuggets. So, a lot of those teams, man, they're trying to lock in. Playoffs coming around. So,
shout out to the Celtics, man. That's what I want to say, man. Because they blew 19 points.
Onto the Hawks.
To DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah, the Trae Youngless Hawks. I don't even think was DeJounte Murray playing? I don't think he was.
I don't think he was. I don't think Ngakwe, Ngakwe.
Big O.
Anoku, was playing either. I mean, I think it was like 6 players. They kind of looked like the Heat roster at that point. No one was playing.
Oh, well, if that's the case, the Celtics are in trouble, man.
Yeah. So I did see some of the Pick Aside podcast, man. Jason Tatum, I want to know your thoughts. They said Jason Tatum is not elite at anything, that he's just a jack of all trades. He could be average to good. I kind of agree with him in the big moments in the fourth quarter. That's why you don't see you see the fourth quarter demise of the Celtics, because he doesn't have that one go-to move. He could do everything at a good level, but it's not like, oh, we know we're giving the ball to Tatum on the post. We're giving, screen and roll. I just want to know, do you think Tatum is elite at anything?
I would. Elite is tough, because when you say elite, it's like, what are we talking here? But I definitely would say, like, scoring. Like, I mean, he's averaging 27 in a game. Now, you obviously see him take a step back because he's playing with so much talent around him right now. But in terms of, like, getting a bucket, I think Jason Tatum's able to score from all 3 levels. Has a decent 3-point shot. I mean, playing with the Celtics, all they do is shoot threes. They have the most threes attempted they made in the league right now. So, I mean, he's able to shoot the ball, and he's, 6'9", 6'10", inside, down in the post. He has a nice little mid-range, can finish at the rim. So, I would say scoring, he's definitely elite at. But outside of that, then you look at kind of what else does he do. He's stepped up his defense this year. I think, playing more of a team ball, able to grab some boards because of his size. But elite scorer is... I think he's right on the brink, because when you think of elite scorer, like, what are the first names that come to mind? Like Curry, Luka,
Kyrie,
SGA. I wouldn't say Kyrie at this point in his career. I would say Kyrie's an elite ball handler. He does that at an elite level.
I mean, he's just not taking that many
elite playmaker
shots as Luka is, but I would still. Kyrie's an elite finisher.
Yeah, he's an elite finisher, especially for his size at the rim. Yeah, when you look at Jokic, he's elite pretty much at everything.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, on the offensive side of the ball. When you look
I would say Bron is the only one where it's like he's just one of one. Like, he might not be the most elite 3-point shooter. He can finish. Is he the most elite finisher? But I think that's why
I would say
the
LeBron
Celtics
is
struggle.
still elite at finishing at the rims.
Yeah.
Even at this point in his career. Because prime Bron, like, he was like on, like,
yeah.
I would say like past Jokic's level, like in terms of being elite at everything. Because defensively, he brought something that Jokic just can't bring.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that. But
I
mean, you look at Jimmy. He's elite defensively.
In the playoffs, yeah.
Yeah. And then his
season.
ability to draw fouls, I would say he's elite at as well.
Yeah. I think in terms of elite scorer, I would put SGA up there.
SGA.
Would you put Giannis in the elite scoring category just because he's able to finish? Like,
nah.
So
I'd
crazy.
say he's an elite slasher.
Yeah.
Elite defensive player.
Yeah,
but
and rebounder.
Yeah. I mean,
that's a tough one.
I'm trying to think around the league right now.
In terms of scorer, let me think. Anthony Davis, I would say, is more of elite on the defensive side of the ball.
Elite shot blocker, rebounder, lockdown in the paint. Obviously, he's not as gifted as he was once offensively, but he could still get it done on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, you saw against the Bucks the other night with no LeBron. Yeah, like 30 and 20 or something crazy like that in double OT. Yeah.
But, I mean, I just don't think the Celtics could truly win a championship with the team they have. I mean, I like the addition of Drew Holiday. Maybe that switches up with KP. Will that be enough to get them over the hump? We'll see, but it's heating up, man.
Would you say Ant?
Ant.
KD obviously is an elite scorer.
Yeah, D-Book is an elite scorer.
Yeah.
I mean, if those three guys weren't on the team between Beal, KD, and Book, you could say that.
Would you say Ant is elite scorer already, or he's trending in that direction? I would say he's right on the verge.
Yeah, he's on the cusp, but I would say he's an elite finisher as well. Like,
yeah, that's John Collins. Yeah.
So it's just the ability of the shot, and he's knocking them down this year too.
Brunson too. I would say Brunson's
a scorer. Yeah,
don't sleep on Brunson. Yeah,
he can score at all three levels too. He can finish at the rim. Mid range is elite.
Yeah, he's got a little
he can
floater.
Shoot the 3-ball.
Yeah.
See, like, you could say like Brunson's elite at the mid range game. Like, he's elite. Can't say the same for Tatum, man. We'll see, man. It's getting interesting in my eyes. East is heating up. I mean, the West is where it's at, obviously. 1 through, I think all of them had 1 through 8 had 40 wins before 30 losses this year. So, crazy number. You got any last comments, takes, draft, anything? Pretty
much it. Covered it all.
Goal to go, episode 82, NFL 2024 first round mock draft, baseball. I almost said football. Basketball really heating up towards the end. Apple, Spotify, podcasts, all that. Goal to go pod on TikTok. Go ahead and hit that like, comment, share button. And until next week, we'll be back with another episode, man. Peace.